Welcome everyone to our FWA storytelling series. Today we are diving into the essential leadership skill of self-awareness and exploring how a deeper understanding of ourselves will drive more effective decision-making and foster stronger team dynamics across the board. I am so thrilled to introduce Taresa Scott, the founder and chief learning strategist at Blueprint. She has a dual master's degree in education and communication and has dedicated her career to understanding how people learn, grow, and thrive in their workplaces. Taresa's expertise goes beyond traditional training. Her work every single day helps leaders identify their own blind spots, better understanding their team's natural work styles and tactics to improve communication and collaboration amongst those teams that those leaders are leading. Her work is a testament to the power of bridging vision and execution, and her expertise in both people and systems gives her a unique perspective on the leadership challenges we are all facing. Taresa knows firsthand that a leader's ability to drive change and build success begins with a deep understanding of knowing themselves first. Taresa, I am so thrilled that you're here today.
Thank you for having me. Ooh, I love the introduction.
Yes, absolutely. We are very honored to have you. Let's jump right into it. So
Let's get into it.
One of the things that I would love to learn more about from you, and I think would be really valuable for our members to learn more about, would be beyond simply knowing your strengths and your weaknesses, how would you define deep self-awareness for a leader? And why is that nuanced understanding of that deeper level of self-awareness, why is that critical, especially for first-time managers who are now navigating new responsibilities?
You know, honestly, I truly believe that words matter. And I know that sounds so simplistic, but words determine how we think, how we feel, how we react, our moods. And the words that you choose to use in a situation can make someone feel on top of the moon or like the worst person ever, right? And so I think that's really the first place to begin in understanding that the words you use matter, and it's to really be mindful of the ones that you choose to use when you're communicating with others. You know, if it's a difficult conversation, if it's giving feedback, if it's just having a candid conversation about anything in the workplace, it's so important to be mindful of the words that you're using.
Absolutely. Beyond that, or going a little deeper on that one, how do you recommend that leaders proactively plan the words they're going to use? Or is there a tactic? So saying words are important is the starting point. How do you make sure you execute on that?
You know, for me, because I always like to put myself in the shoes of the other individual, right? And I try to be very mindful of what is the message I'm trying to convey. You know, if I want to motivate someone, I want to say, hey, you know, you're doing a great job. I'm really inspired by, you know, I want to make sure I'm using very thoughtful language, but very realistic to how I talk, of course, on a daily basis. But just, you know, I'm very much of a coach. So when I sit down with individuals, I always say, you know, how can I support you? You know, what inspires you? You know, what energizes you? What motivates you? What drains your energy? Things like that, to try to have a deeper conversation, to bring that information out of them, to understand this is a safe space. I'm a real person too. Like I get very overwhelmed, you know, by X, Y, and Z. I get drained when I'm constantly, you know, stuck in doing paperwork. Those aren't things I necessarily like, but we have to do them. So what are some things that drain you, or what are some things that energize you? So I feel like that's just being mindful of the words that work, rather than saying, what do you hate? Because you know, that can be such a grudging word to use. Say, what do you absolutely just hate? But rather than what energizes you, what lights you up, like we know that, we understand that language, because we have those moments where we're like, oh man, this energizes me. I feel good. Like I want to do this. So again, those are when I think about words that matter. Hate versus energizes, lights you up versus, you know, what bores you. You know, it really it has those aha moments. just those little tweak of words that we use.
Absolutely. And, you know, beyond that, cultivating self-awareness is, I think, a decades-long practice. It's something that some people are very good at. It's something that some people have to work at very hard constantly. What are 2 or 3 of your most effective go-to strategies or daily practices that you've found invaluable for helping leaders continuously sharpen their self-awareness?
Yeah. Well, and I'll say this, it also takes the person to look inwardly and say, you know, let me actually figure out who is self, who am I, right? And the first step I always say is if you kind of have an idea of who you are, but then let's say your delivery is constantly off of people, you're constantly clashing heads, I would say take a personality test. One that I offer and utilize critically is the predictive index. It really lets you look inward and say, oh man, dang, that is me. That is how I communicate. That is how I show up. That helps identify those initial blind spots that you weren't even aware of, or maybe you didn't want to really look at it, you know? And so, because to your earlier point, you're going to constantly evolve. Like I've taken a test where I've been a owl at one point, and now I've been a dove at another point, and then I've been a strong eagle for years now. You know, or in the predictive index language, a strong captain and for years. And so to really hone in on that, I think 2 big things is, one, constantly ask for feedback. Never assume that what you stated or what was given was taken at face value. Ensure that you gather feedback when you're talking with folks. Even when I sit down and say, hey, how can I support you? And I hear a lot of positive things, I still turn around and say, hey, give me some feedback. Because I don't want to be in a position where I'm giving you feedback and you can't give the same thing to me. I need to understand, am I really showing up to support you as in the facet that I believe that I am? Yeah. 2 is journaling. Reflection is such a key thing, and there are so many things to go on in a day, especially as a leader. Oh my gosh, it's, to me, it has been a breath of fresh air to just sit down and journal. And I've passed it on to my aspiring leaders to continue to journal, reflect on your day, you know, because for one, I think it helps to decompress. If you had a tough day, write that down. But then also, again, too, just to write down the moments. Not doesn't have to be the bad things. It can be the good, the bad, the ugly, everything. So journaling for self-reflection and really gathering feedback are 2 big ones I think are like top tier.
Yeah. How, as a leader, do you create space for your team to feel comfortable giving you feedback? It's one thing to ask for feedback, and the best leaders are the ones that can deliver feedback very well, but leaders are in a position to deliver feedback. Whereas if you are coaching up or you are asking your team as a leader, give me feedback, how do you ensure that they feel comfortable doing that?
You almost have to earn the trust of really pulling that information out of people. Some folks know instantly, you know, and they'll give it out to you, and then someone kind of tiptoe around. I think that is something that is earned over time and building trust. So let's say you get a team, you know, a week ago. I think it's having those intentional conversations day over day, and not just conversations about feedback, just conversations to really get to know the person sitting in front of you, beyond just the job, beyond just the tasks that they have to do. You know, you have a one-on-one, or you have a team meeting. Really get to know the person. You know, what are some things you like doing in your spare time? You don't have to. You can go as deep and far as wide as the comfortability of the conversation allows, but it really requires being intentional to get to know the person beyond just the job. When you take intentional steps, I always talk about 2-minute daily habits of just asking questions, being inquisitive. You know, if they mention, hey, I got to be out, you know, because my kid is sick, you know, follow up and say, hey, you know, is everything okay at home? I know you said your child was, you know, was going through X, Y, and Z. Be human. Yeah. I think a lot of times we overlook those simplistic things, and that's really what it comes down to. That creates psychological safety, where then they're open to have those real conversations when there are real moments happening in the business that are affecting them, or if something personal is affecting the business, vice versa, where they'll come to you because you've opened that door to build a true relationship, a trusting relationship, to say, hey, this is grounded in not just, hey, you're doing a great job or you're not doing your job. It's saying, hey, I see you, Alicia. You see me, Taresa. We're really building that. We've built an authentic connection between one another. We can communicate.
Right. Yep. I think that's very important. One of the unintended consequences of self-awareness and a deep level of self-awareness is it can bring uncomfortable truths to light. Yeah. And I think what would be really helpful and insightful would be, is there a time that you can think of when a challenging self-realization became a catalyst for you for a positive shift in your leadership style?
Oh, absolutely. I realized that a lot of times I can move at a very fast pace. I'm like, boom, 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 let's go. Fell forward, fell fast. Let's just get into it. And, I have a lot of high energy, and I bring that to my team members. And a lot of times I had to take a step back early on in my career and realize, Taresa, not everyone has the same energy. Not everyone is I won't say they're not fearful, but not necessarily fearless. Like, some people are analytical. They want to really think these things through. Even though they have all the information in front of them, they really want to kind of prepare and analyze and take a step back for a moment. And so I've really had to train myself to slow down, to speed up, and be very intentional about that, and allow people the opportunity to, when something's presented, take a moment and pause.
Mm-hmm.
Early on, I was really bad about the pause. I'll admit, I was really bad about the pause. But over the years, I've really been thoughtful to say, you know what, let's slow down. So when I get on other people who are in that same mode, or they feel like they have to be going faster, we need this. Wait a minute. If you're in the mindset of you need to be doing this, your sentence to yourself says, I need pause. We need to slow down to speed up. Mm-hmm. And really be effective, because a lot of burnout is from spinning our wheels, throwing spaghetti at the wall, moving really quick. Errors are happening, and I'd rather have quality over quantity. So it's even getting to that mindset of recognizing that with yourself and letting other people know it's okay. Slow down. Now, if that's your thing, cool, but slow it down if you can.
Yeah, I think a key takeaway for me just in our chat so far, the power of pausing is so relevant, not only for what you've just said, but for me personally as well. I find the same. Thinking about a moment that was a catalyst, years ago, 15 years ago, had a leader in the organization that I wasn't directly reporting to take me out to coffee and offer that coaching and be like, you are so high energy and you sometimes say things too quickly. Mm-hmm. And you might not show up the way that you are intending to show up because of that. Mm-hmm. And then that moment, I learned the power of the pause. Mm-hmm. And I think that is such a great set of guidance for people to know you don't have to fill empty space.
Yeah.
It's okay to take a minute.
Yeah.
And just recalibrate what you're going to say and how you're going to say it. And it goes back to what you said earlier, which is know what you want your message to be, because words matter. And I can find if I'm going too quickly or I'm not pausing, I'm taking away my power to communicate in my values.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is spot on. Yes. I couldn't have said that better, because like I said, when I think about that pause, just really allowing myself to dissect, allowing that person to really gather and collect their thoughts to respond. Like, it allows us to be in the moment. I think the best messages have that pause, because sometimes, like you said early in career, you have all these great, wonderful ideas, and they're spot on. They're what the people need, but it came out so quick, so fast. We didn't allow any time to digest, and having that pause in between those different moments could have made such a greater impact. Now, you're showing up, you're really still that same person. You've evolved, yes, but you're still that same person. You're just now being intentional with that pause. And that's really what a lot of this boils down to. It's all about being intentional, it's being mindful, because we could be Einstein, we could be all these great and wonderful things, but without that intentionality behind it, it can easily be overlooked. It can easily be missed.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I think that going back to this like radical self-awareness that we want to practice throughout our careers, personal life, professional life, both, the pause gives you a moment to gut check yourself
Mm-hmm.
and to really be like, am I showing up the way I
Oh,
want to be showing up in this conversation?
and that's also why I really like the tactic of journaling, because it forces you to really sit down with your thoughts, put it down on paper. And if you're someone like myself that, you remember more when you write it, or even if you like to go back and read it, it's like, oh man, dang. Because even if it's just a week that passed, you go back, flip back to that page, it's like, oh wow. Because again, it's bringing that self to the forefront. If it's a conversation, if it's just different things, whatever you feel is the most important to really put down on paper, that pause is so intentional alone, even just journaling that, because you can't talk, at least I couldn't do it. I can't talk and write.
Right.
So it forces you to sit down, just really think, be with self, and just have that moment as well. That's why I kind of like that combination together.
How do you find time to journal? When do you prioritize it?
Oh, it for me, a lot of my thinking, reflection is probably going to be like sometime before bed, because that's a little bit, it's at night. It's like I'm not too tired to go to sleep just yet, but I did get the kiddo down, and so it's that moment where it's pure silence. I could cut the TV off if I like. I can go into the next room. I just kind of sit there and just be, and that's
Yeah.
like I found for me that's been the perfect time. So it might be 8ish, 9 o'clock, at night, but that's like my sweet spot of the hour. Full day is taking place. It's me time.
And how long do you recommend when you're coaching leaders? How long are you coaching them to be journaling for? Is it daily? Is it 5 minutes? Is it 2 minutes? What would you say is a reasonable best practice?
I'm a firm believer in 2-minute habits, and I talk about 2 minutes so much. I was really inspired by Atomic Habits. I read that a while back, and habits are anything that can be completed in 2 minutes or less is how you build habits. And it's not really giving yourself um it's not more so about the time that you spend. It's just saying this is the time it takes to dedicate to generate new habit. And when it's truly formed, it's depending on how often you actually perform that said habit. And so I always think about 2 minutes, because we're all busy. We have busy lives, especially if you have kids. The more kids, the older they are, there could be sports and everything else. You have work. 2 minutes, I say, to jot something down. We have those aha moments at the most strangest times. Take that moment. Take that moment. It could be incrementally. It could be just in that 2-minute habit. It could be longer if it needs to be, but at minimum 2 minutes to write that down, to take that pause, or so.
And if you are physically writing in a journal and you don't necessarily have your journal in front of you, something I find really valuable is literally just using the notes app on my phone.
Oh yeah.
And writing something down in there so I don't forget it.
I have digital notes for days.
Yeah, exactly. Another one that's my personal lean in is I have ChatGPT and Gemini on my phone. And I'm a big fan of that audio feature where I'm out and about and I just hit the audio feature and I talk into it and it summarizes what I'm saying. And I will text the link to myself or Slack the link to myself so that I don't forget. And I just have, whether it's a journal forward moment or it's a to-do list that I'm thinking about, or it's an idea that I want to noodle on when I have more time.
Yeah.
Big unlock for me.
You know what? And I had not thought about that. I typically will use, like, if I'm on the go, I typically use the voice feature in the notes app. Had not thought to even utilize Gemini to summarize my notes. Boom.
It's so good. I love it. I love it. Oh, wonderful. Well, on that note, I think I think that's a lovely note to end on. I think there's some really thoughtful and practical advice that you've shared from your experience in coaching leaders. And I think reflecting on the power of the pause and the power of journaling as two really critical ways to deepen self-awareness is so important. And I think the ideas of asking for feedback and creating the safety first so that that feedback can be authentic from your team is just such a powerful reminder that we're all humans, and building a great team is a mutual feedback loop. So thank you so much for being here, for sharing your wisdom with us. And it was lovely to chat with you today.
You too. Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I've enjoyed this conversation. So yeah, thank you.